Hey guys, Civilord here, back in with another action figure review. Today we'll be continuing our looks at the Transformers Dark of the Moon Dread characters. Notice I didn't just say Studio Series. With, of course, none other than the Studio Series Deluxe class Crowbar. We took a look at this guy yesterday. This is the, again, I think it was Premium Edition Deluxe Class Berserker from last night, aka Deluxe Class Crankcase from Dark of the Moon, because, well, they could be twinsies, for all we know. And then, of course, since we already got one of them in here, let's bring in Hatchet. So we can complete our, I'm going to call him not Insecticon, but Insecticon Trio. I think that's kind of the intention with these characters. They were meant to be the Insecticons, even though they're not Insecticons. That said, this of course brought to us by the fine folks over at Hasbro, all three of these in fact. And like Berserker, he comes with the same spiky clubs. And here's a look at one of Berserker's clubs. I think it's pretty much the same thing, so if you mix them up, not a total loss. But getting these two out of here, one thing I did notice amidst these three figures, they're not the exact same thing. The feet are different, the arms are different, the torsos are different. They are the same skeleton, essentially, but there are different parts here and there to make them unique, and I think that's pretty freaking clever by the fine folks over at Hasbro to do that, because they could have easily repainted the same guy 3 times and we probably would have bought it and thought nothing of it. But the fact that they went the extra mile to make them unique for the most part is cool. I think the only thing that's really similar amidst the three of them is the backpacks. Other than that, they are pretty standalone. So bringing Crowbar in, I will also say, of the three, Crowbar stays together the best. He does not have all the loose panel problems that some of these guys have. But, you know, take that for what you will. As far as his articulation goes, his head will rotate. You can lean it forward to get him really kind of haunched. But at certain angles, the head is kind of loose, so be mindful of that. At least it is on mine. Shoulders will go up and down, rotate forward and back. He does have a single elbow with rotation. His joints are pretty darn tight. Jeez. He does have hinge wrists due to transformation. His arm panels are freaking straight up glued in place. They're like the same type of like panel as Berserker, but they are attached way differently, so I don't know why we don't just get that for Berserker. Later on, maybe we will. Like I said, I think he could use a reissue. Oh, that's what's going on here. Tuck those under there. Save a little bit of room and real estate. His hips will kick out, back down, forward and back. He does have a bit of a thigh cut. Single jointed knee. And then he's got just big old clomper feet that can kind of hinge back and forth, like so. No rocker on those, even though they're pretty giant feet. But yeah, man, that is Crowbar in a nutshell. He was one of the first deluxes released in this line. I think he was the first Studio Series figure I ever got. So I'm like, ooh, Crowbar, I like that character. I want to figure that guy. So I got him at Walmart, and he was marked wrong. So I got him for $10. Can somebody say clearance? Unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough to grab the other ones for that. So yeah. But I'm like 99% sure this guy was like the first Studio Series I ever picked up. And boy oh boy, did I have no clue what I was getting into when they started making more of these. Because, wow, this line is pretty freaking stellar, despite the fact that it's mostly G1 crap nowadays. And I got nothing against G1, alright? I like to bust your guys' balls, because you like to bust my balls about Bayformers. But here's the deal. Is it really studio series if it was just drawn on a piece of paper? I don't think so. I really don't. Yeah, it was released in theaters, but it's not called theater series, is it? So, you know, it's just more of the same. Now they're doing the G1 Devastator in those. It's like, don't they have generations for all the G1 stuff? Golly gee willikers. But at any rate, there is Crowbar. He's pretty gnarly looking. He got the freaking tusks and shiznit going on. But before I wrap this up, let's bring in our two regulars. Got the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibuloth here. Right there. And the infamous 11 Spawn, who, as usual, towers over everyone. So with that being said, it's time now that we wrap things up. Some final thoughts. Overall, and I think we can all agree that good old Crowbar here, of his 3 Dread compadres, is by far the best from, at the very least, a quality standpoint. I think aesthetic is it subjective or objective? I think it's subjective. But as far as the quality goes, this guy is by far the easiest to pose, the easiest to transform, and all around the easiest to mess around with, which is what you want in a Transformer, isn't it? But like the Deluxe class Berserker and or Crankcase before him, I do think an ankle rocker would make him that much better. Maybe someday we'll see this guy again with that, but until then, this figure is pretty freaking solid. However, this review is not yet over, because we do still need to take a look at his vehicle mode. And as promised, we have good old Crowbar in his Chevy Suburban alt mode, just like the Deluxe class Berserker we looked at yesterday. This guy's alt mode is no different, other than the fact that I can actually show you that it rolls, because I don't need to worry about all the panels popping off. And the main difference, you could tell the dreads apart, is Crowbar. You can see all his dreads shoved in the back there. Yeah, it's the same thing, essentially, with, I believe, a different torso and head. But if we bring in the Deluxe class Berserker from yesterday, aka Crankcase, and Hatchet, who we'll look at later today, you can see that, yes, all 3 of these guys, same alt mode. That is movie accurate. Well, other than Berserker's name, I guess. But the Crankcase we got in Studio Series, it's just a repainted Crowbar here, so I never bought that. Kinda wish I did, because that figure would be way easier to mess with than the Berserker, but hindsight's 20/20, I guess. So that is that. Getting these 2 out of the way. Hopefully not popping a freaking panel on that Berserker figure, because that's literally how, I don't even know if fragile is the right word, but flimsy it is. So that's going to wrap up my looks at the Deluxe class Crowbar. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.